Hello and welcome to the Best of Big Fight 2015. Well, 2015 was a year of many voices. Voices of the new government and voices of the electorate that came out in large numbers to vote for change everywhere. Voices of the majority, voices of the fringe, voices of tolerance and voices on the lack of it. This was a year when India aspired to be digital, a year that marked a consolidation of India's foreign policy, a year that saw big names in financial scandals, and a year that saw a ban on everyone's lips. We wind up this last episode of the Big Fight for the year 2015 with some of our most interesting and relevant debates, including, of course, that section from Gardner-Harris that went viral. Well, some of the biggest debates of the year were on what else? Intolerance. The Modi government's promise of Achhe Din saw some rough weather as some ministers and MPs and other leaders passed careless comments suggesting the imposition of a monolithic majoritarian culture. India's pluralistic majority fought back, and there were lots and lots of arguments and discussions about it. Does this democratic nation give its government the right to ban what it eats, watches and reads? That was the big subject of debate for much of the year. And we debated whether India had become a republic of bans.
There is nothing wrong in being intolerant. Unless,
There's nothing wrong with being intolerant.
Yes, nothing wrong in being intolerant, provided you intolerance has always, in the history says, that from intolerance, necessity is the mother of creation. So if you look at intolerance at times in correcting a couple of things in the society, then there is nothing wrong in it, provided you take that word intolerance in the right perspective. He just said that beef and pork are political festivals. Why? I mean, beef and pork to me is non-vegetarian food. I've been enjoying it wherever, over the world. Now, just because I'm a BJP member of parliament, me saying that I have been enjoying pork or beef doesn't mean that I have it or I don't have it. That's besides the point. The point is, it's not a political point.
If you kill somebody because you think he's eating beef, or for that matter, if you beat up Rahul Ishwar because he's refusing to eat beef, if that's going to be what the country becomes, we're going to have a problem.
But let's understand one thing. Now, when has rationalists of different religion not got attacked in India? For over the years. In Howrah station in Bengal, we used to have a joke that when intolerant people used to get down from the train, you see someone getting beaten up, you just go there, give him one slap, and after moving, say, ki, kya hua tha kya? Kya hua tha? It's like that kind of a thing. Okay. That is something that has happened. Now why is that getting... No. I'm saying that has been a characteristic of the mass
so you've
of
always
India.
Been intolerant.
No. Listen to me. It's not... See, a joke is a very serious thing. If you get the point, things have been happening in India for a very long time. Now, these three rationalists which got killed, things like this have happened in India over the years, even when the Congress was in power. Today, because BJP is again, as I said, Hindutva, or somewhere it is getting imposed as Hindutva,
okay,
it is getting a political color. It is getting imposed as a political. But that is the bad part of what is happening. Fine. Where Manmohan Singh did not practically speak for 10 years, it's really funny. It's really funny. Why do you have... It's funny. You don't play the opposition party all the time. The country is burning.
Manmohan Singh didn't have a single minister talking the language that we heard from Mahesh Shraddha.
Sir, if you had spoken the language the country wanted to hear, then you would have had more than 44.
Very articulate until he fell in. For the first
you cannot expect.
He wasn't keeping quiet. This is rubbish. Why is he politicizing this?
But you have already politicized by saying that.
Because Modi unhappily is the Prime Minister of the country.
It is the Prime Minister.
And the Prime Minister of the country, in sheer contrast to Gandhi and Nehru, has taken 10 days to not say anything significant.
There's a height of illiteracy in this crowd. We are not talking politics. What Mani is talking about is decency and ethics. That's the word you guys don't know how to use, because when the RSS and the BJP start being Rotarian-like and ignore the question that their politics is only a set of tactics, and Mr. Nigam doesn't understand when ideology even began in history, there are problems. I think let's be very clear, the word ethics was never mentioned here. These are tactical people handling a tactical situation, and you want us to approve?
All right.
I will point out the thing is India being a Hindu majority and now a biggest democracy has only allowed every religion to come here, settle down and grow. I think that should have more than things that India has been so tolerant about. No. Majority has always allowed people to grow here.
Twitter history correct.
Yes.
What is this? These religions came long before Twitter and your majoritarian nonsense.
Correct, but they have only allowed to grow
hang on.
Who
asked you for permission?
If Hindu would have been intolerant, then they would have never allowed anybody to stay here.
I think
there is this idea of the
question
day.
of ethics was raised.
Yeah.
And there is a golden rule of ethics of reciprocity. You tolerate me, I'll tolerate you.
Are you saying that
That sounds like a threat. Okay,
that is the ethics of reciprocity.
Fine.
The Twitter gentleman is revealing the mindset of the same approach. We have tolerated you. First of all, his history is all wrong, but this is not the forum to talk to him about his idea of history. That we were sitting here, one unified Hindu whole was sitting here, and they came. I mean, you have no idea about history. You haven't read Ambedkar. You haven't read Gandhi. I mean, I don't know what you've read except 140 character tweets. You have read 140 character tweets, a lot of them. You have not read Ambedkar. You have not read Gandhi. What have you read? I don't know.
Now the question is, I will reply. That is, a cartoon can kill you, but if you go and kill a cow which is very scared to Hindu, you will have to tolerate it.
Who killed a cow?
Scared.
Who killed a cow?
Nobody did. China, why don't I start off with you? Is this the right approach to take? I mean, when you ban things, do these bans ever really work?
I don't think you need to view this as a regressive policy. The thought is that, yes, there are people in our country who worship the cow. The needs in today's day and age, when half the world is talking about being vegan, even the health benefits about, you can have the choice of what you want to eat. But to slaughter cows when you know that there is an economic agenda as well, there is a sociological impact, and more importantly, you've had the father of the nation propagate this for the longest time, and nobody seems to question that. Moment the BJP thinks of this as a progressive law, which was something that was addressed in 1995 as well. Unfortunately, the then president didn't give the go-ahead in 96. This time it's happened, so I think we should welcome it and view it in totality as something which preserves animal rights as well.
I think the culture of banning itself is regressive. It is anti-democratic. It makes a monkey out of people's free will. If I want to eat beef, I should be allowed to eat beef. I mean, the whole example of Mahatma Gandhi in its historical context is a bit awry, because it was the same Gandhi who camped in Noakhali and tried telling a beef-eating Muslim that, sorry, you can't eat beef anymore, and then blame it on Gandhi is a bit of a stretch. I have a fundamental view here. If in this country we can't manage to get policies framed through logic, we then use the illogical path of ban. Because ban almost suggests that we are catering to a whim or a fancy of a fringe element. I mean, no one, China's point itself logically favors no ban on beef. If this was a law that was passed in 1995, their government was in power in Maharashtra till 1999, why would you take a step when there's already a fear amongst the minorities, qua the government at the center? Why would you create a perceptual fear amongst minorities saying, we are not only interested in clamping down on your behavior, we will also clamp down on your diet? A, B. The culture of banning doesn't work in India. We are a rebellious society. If you tell 10 Indians to stand in a queue in a straight line, 6 will ask why. Our culture is to revolt. So, we will always find a way out of a ban. Do you think people in Gujarat don't drink even though there's prohibition? Bans have never worked. They have benefited a fringe element. They have benefited political expediency. And what's worse, as you rightly said, Ajay talked about it, Shaina talked about it, is hammam mein sab nange hain. All political parties use ban as the ultimate speedy bullet that they have to fire.
But what really upsets me as a woman of India, and I think if everyone's entitled to their expression and view, I'm entitled to that as well, is this typical mindset where you have a pervert who has been a perpetrator of crime, who comes out and gets this international platform and then goes on to say the most bizarre line, and I just want to read one part of it.
The line that I think you were about to quote, I agree, is a disgraceful line. By having you repeat that line on us right now in the program, we could have debated it, we could have discussed it, we could have all said that's an absolutely outrageous mindset. But there's a ban. So we can't discuss that line now. We can't talk about it. We can't say about what repressive mindsets are, because that's what we've done. We banned it. Now what are we going to do? Now let's just sit and discuss women's rights in general.
When you have men who are vulnerable, some of which are watching all of this and thinking that, dude, he raped this woman, he is in Tihar jail and he has a platform to express his opinion on an international forum. It is a point which is serious.
China, did you see the documentary?
And you may choose to disagree, but I may have an opinion. No, I've read the transcripts like Mr. Dave from top to bottom, and I think that it's extremely demeaning when you talk about research, and then when you talk about research and then to have this kind of an interview.
So the debate doesn't get cluttered between the two. Whenever anyone keeps saying, I have a right to express, no one is saying you don't. That's why we are here talking about it. We are saying whether that right should be taken away by not allowing you to say it.
The most perverse argument in favor of the ban is that it will inspire, incite and stoke people into becoming rapists. I think that's the most bizarre. By that logic, you shouldn't report murders, because by that logic, people will attempt to murder. You shouldn't report crime. You should remain a country in denial. I think it is pernicious logic. My belief is that no mother, upon seeing the film, will either encourage her child, oh beta, go and become Mukesh Singh, or become Charles Sobraj. The reality, Shaina, is we cannot be a society which is forced to interpret current affairs, contemporary sociological behavior along one toed line. What the government is planning to do, it's creating 1984 in 2015. We can't bring back George Orwell. You can't have Big Brother. You can't have a situation like you have in Bangalore. You can't create a society which is perilously in fear. And my final comment here is, the people of India are not regressive. It is the politicians of India who inculcate this regression and then want to transmit that regression across the people of India.
But I'm saying to call for a ban without seeing something
that is what is bizarre.
I mean, we had
so that's the fundamental issue.
Some of our most outrageous channels, or well, the ones which get the most outrage, were actually saying that somebody's been, that the parents should be feeling insulted when the parents were on another channel.
No, we're having a conversation about what happened.
So, anyway, hang on. Dushyant, let me get you, and you were trying to respond to Abhinandan.
First, I have read the transcripts very carefully, and I can tell you one thing, that those transcripts give me sufficient idea as to what really the documentary is about. I did not see it.
It's a film.
And having seen those transcripts very carefully, let me tell you that.
No text.
Dushyant, just to add to that point, you do realize that in the documentary there are visuals over all the transcripts.
That's right.
The visuals do change what your impact is. But anyway, that's beside the point. Anyway, I did say Dushyant should be allowed to speak.
Mr. Vikram Chandra, would you tell that kind lady that I have been a lawyer for 36 years and I know what I am talking about? So either she should shut up or she should allow me to talk.
Sorry, sir. You can't ask me to shut up.
It's not fair at all for her to go on saying what she doesn't understand. I don't need to see a film, lady. I don't need to see a film.
Yes, you do need to see a film.
I have seen the transcript.
You're talking about courts. You're talking about admissible evidence. You can't decide on anything.
Can I have my freedom to speak now? Okay. Dushyant, you're not allowed to ask anybody to shut up, but can you finish what you're saying? I've been trying to get you to finish what you're saying, so please allow him to finish what he's saying.
You can tell her she's banned, though.
There is no doubt in my mind that this documentary, from the transcripts that I have read, really is absolutely unacceptable morally. It is unacceptable from the standards of decency. And most of all, let me tell you something, it will encourage further violence. And let us understand one thing, we are a nation of billion plus. If few hundred or few thousand people become rapists, that does not mean that this is the mindset of all the men in the country. It is absolutely unfair to project the mindset of men. And secondly, do you realize today what is happening in the Western world? It is the social media and it is the TV coverage.
We live in a cave.
Young, 14 and 15-year-old girls to join ISIS. Why are they joining ISIS? The second, third generation of youngsters.
I would just like to say quick.
So I think this should not be shown.
Okay, one second. So I just have
just one.
Can you all speak one at a time?
One quick point. Mr. Dave, I would just like to quote you to you. You just said, A, I'm a lawyer for 36 years, so you shut up. I don't see the connection between the two. Okay? Secondly, when you say I'm a lawyer for 36 years, I have read the film and I think it is not appropriate. We are talking about a fundamental question of freedom of speech. It does not depend on what Mr. Dave thinks. Right. If you think you're the supreme being, and because you have read and you have decided, If another man with 37.5 years of experience says no, we'll say, "Theek, I was wrong."
Wait.
And what is the logic? What is the logic that I have said this?
Mr. Dave is entitled to his opinion.
Exactly, but he is
But
arguing that I think so it should be banned.
If we banned it, then you won't be hearing
that's
this
devoid of logic.
Peace.
People who belong to the BJP today violently opposed the emergency of Indira Gandhi in 1975. Violently. People went to jail, including Arun Jaitley, our INB minister as well. I find it ironic that a party which based its principles of freedom on the freedom of expression today believes that that freedom should be inflicted by political might rather than by public resolution. Where do the people of India matter? Because the people in parliament are the ones who've used abuse against women. You've had Mulayam Singh be derogatory. You've had Beni Prasad Verma. You've had Sakshi, who wants Hindu women to produce 4 children. I mean, these are the ridiculous people in power. Are we supposed to be guided by their feeble intellect?
You see, you can't have it both ways. On the one hand, we talk of this great inclusive civilization that India was and is, that this nation which celebrates diversity, hundreds of languages, religions, this, that and the other, and that we talked of adult franchise in the 1890s, still is talking of adult franchise, while the Americans in 1960s are still debating whether a black man can come in. And now we've created a society with through these bans and this narrow-mindedness that even Obama can come and lecture us on how to be inclusive.